Okay.
All right, we are live on Facebook. Hello, what is your name?
Michael West.
And what is your role here?
I direct the Alaska Earthquake Center here at the University of Alaska Fairbanks and the Geophysical Institute.
Go that way, Alaska Earthquake Center, you say? This is the director.
Oh, fair enough. That's right. That's
so
right.
a staff of seismologists and researchers work with you?
Well, a lot of people don't know this, but the University of Alaska holds the responsibility from the Alaska legislature to carry out earthquake monitoring, earthquake data archiving, and earthquake research on behalf of the state.
And I saw that earthquakes just happened this morning. They're happening all the time.
On average, about every 15 minutes or so, there's something that's large enough to be reported and analyzed by one of our seismologists.
And there's maps all over. Why red? It looks like sort of I guess it's sort of orangey. On camera, it looks a little red, like the
It
Earth's
is red.
lava.
It is red.
Is it red for excitement, red for danger, or just red for sort of visibility?
Red for visibility, frankly. But you'll notice that not all red. We use color to distinguish different types of earthquakes. Here in Alaska, one of the big variabilities is the depth of an earthquake. That may not sound exciting on the surface, but there's a big difference geologically, tectonically, between something that happens right up at the surface, an earthquake that ruptures, say, the surface, and something that happens, 200 kilometers deep in the earth. And those don't actually happen in much of the U.S., but Alaska is one of the few places where we have deep earthquakes as well. So we use color, to get back to your original question, frequently to distinguish different kinds of events like that.
Why even bother studying earthquakes? They're just going to happen. Can't stop them. Why bother studying them?
Well, that's true. There is no prospect of stopping earthquakes, and in fact, we can come back to this. We wouldn't actually want to do that. That would be bad. But we do have to live with them. And the more society grows, the more people there are on this planet, the more complex our civilization becomes. In some ways, the more vulnerabilities, no, not in some ways, categorically, the more vulnerabilities we have to earthquakes. And so the real motivation is to understand and mitigate, ultimately, reduce the impacts of, yes, these events that are going to happen.
And so you've got these displays here. These are sort of static displays, but I know right around the corner, if you can lead us down that way.
Sure.
There's a more sort of dynamic
Come
display.
this way.
I will do that.
The backbone of what we do, we're a data-driven facility. We work from data. And so step one in this process on which our operations are pinned are recording seismic data, which at its core is a really simple idea. How much does the ground shake? I mean, if the ground is moving up and down, that's one kind of shaking. Maybe it's moving north-south. Maybe it's moving east-west. So actually, we're talking about 3 different components of motion. So if we wanted to record the shaking in this building, which incidentally we do down in the basement, we would record that motion in 3 different directions. So in order to, it's going to sound cliche, but in order to take the pulse of Alaska, in order to track what's going on in all different places, we're a big place. By the time you go from the North Slope to Southeast to the Aleutians, we have sensors. We operate, and partners, organizations operate sensors that record exactly that motion that we're talking about. And I have to say, we should have pulled out a seismometer. We can grab one. They're shockingly sensitive. As someone who's been in this profession for a few decades now, I find it incredible just how sensitive you can make a measurement of ground motion. I don't know if the term nanometers means anything to you. Tiny. Yes, that is, let's see, don't catch me off guard. A nanometer is what, a billionth of a meter? We routinely measure ground motion in units of nanometers per second.
How do you determine what's the earth shaking and a moose walking over? a sensor?
That's a good question. We don't. Well, we do, but the data itself responds to anything. So let's move back. I was talking about the network of instrumentation around the state, a couple of hundred sites that stream data in real time back here to the earthquake center. So you're looking at some of that data right here. What I want you to notice is that any one of these lines represents about an hour's worth of data. And if you look real closely here, you'll see it's actually streaming in. So every couple of seconds, there's a new packet of data. Come on, come on, come on.
It just happened a second ago. Here we go.
Here comes another one. There we go, a little bit.
Oh.
So this is data that's incrementally, coming in. How about over here? This gets to your question. You were asking, how do you distinguish? Come on down just a little. How do you distinguish between people, moose, or anything else? The data that we're actually looking at right here is recorded in downtown Anchorage, and it's filled with all sorts of stuff. I don't know, maybe that's buses going by, maybe that's kids in the schoolyard, somebody's generator kicking on, who knows, all sorts of stuff. That all shakes the ground. So it's all in there. And so the scientific endeavor then is to separate those pieces and to separate out what is human noise, what is natural noise, but not the kind we're interested in. When the wind blows, for example, the trees move back and forth, that moves the ground. Interesting, not exactly our mission. But then to tease out from that, where are the earthquakes? And actually, we'll be around for a little while longer here, but we don't have a great example in front of us of an earthquake in the last hour. The best one I could find, a little guy out in the Aleutians. But right here, we are looking at a bunch of different stations in the western Aleutians. These are operated actually by the Alaska Volcano Observatory. And what you see a little blip that occurs on all the stations.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is there's some motion there that's not just, you were picking on moose earlier, a moose and a little local disturbance, but something that is shaking one station and another one, 10 miles away, and 150 miles away. Something that's shaking a big area. And that's what's distinctive about an earthquake. When there is something large, when we have a magnitude 5 or 6 earthquake in the state, or frankly, when there's a magnitude 7 anywhere in the world, every station on this display will light up with exactly the same motion, because the whole state is shaking.
Do you get a little notification at home, an alarm that goes off, like it's time to come in?
Well, we do. We have software, we have algorithms that are scanning this data constantly, looking for that pattern, right? That pattern not just on one station, but across several. And we do have some very good algorithms that detect that. And based on, it's not triangulation, but let's say triangulation, develop a crude estimate of where that earthquake was located. The size of the shaking tells you something about how big it is. Magnitude, this is what people pay attention to, right? Magnitude 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then, we don't alarm on every little blip every 15 minutes, but several times per week, we have an event that exceeds a threshold that we say, you know what, we need to review this right now. We have someone on duty 24/7 who's on call, actually. And if it's 3 in the morning, you're absolutely right. There's an alarm that many of us get, and we've got one person who responds to that, and a few of us who communicate back and forth to decide, what we really care about. Is there any potential that this impacted society? There's 2 categories. It can be a scientific curiosity, neat event, really interesting, certainly didn't impact any people. We'll deal with that in the morning. if it's something that woke up, tons and tons of people in the middle of the night, and half of South Central is gone, what just happened, then we push out an information release. We refine that solution. We determine not just where it occurred. That's not actually what people care about. What people really care about is how much did it shake. Did it shake in Palmer? Did it shake in Valdez? Did it shake in Homer? Oh, it shook a lot in Homer. Or oddly, it didn't shake very much in Wasilla. These are the patterns.
Did you feel it? I didn't feel it.
That's exactly right.
What are you feeling?
That's right. We, instead of did you feel it, we prefer to say, well, actually you did feel it, and it was exactly 7% G in terms of acceleration.
Well, we are almost at the time
All right.
for the reason to be here today, because today we're supposed to practice earthquake safety.
Excellent.
So everybody, here's some representatives of society over here. We're very
Otherwise known as
close.
graduate students.
Oh, that's important. That's important. Okay, so something's going to happen here in just 1 minute, and I'm sure you're all well trained on what to do when an earthquake happens.
Are we going to go to the other end of the room?
We're going to go to the.
I think
Yeah,
we
we're going to
should
go
be
down
near,
here.
we are oddly devoid of the table.
Oh, it's time. It's time.
Earthquake.
All right. So this is happening all over the country.
Too, man.
That's right. I'll get under here too. So why is this safer if there was an earthquake?
Falling objects are going to hit the table before my head.
That's good. Is it important to practice your earthquake preparedness all the time?
For sure.
What should you have in your earthquake preparedness kit?
Kids love practicing.
Whew. How long does an earthquake go on?
That's a great question. Big ones can last for minutes. In fact, the strongest shaking might not even occur till a minute or two into the event for a big one.
Oh, should I put a student to the test? How about you? What's the difference? What is magnitude difference? What's the difference between a magnitude 3 and 4?
More than just a simple linear relationship.
32 times the energy.
Oh, okay. So there's some number. Oh, that's, yeah.
Think about that. So what's a difference of 2 magnitude units then?
1,000.
32 times 32, 1,000 times more energy.
That is amazing. Well done. Thank you, students. I feel much safer. We're safer.
All right.
Just gotta get ready for those aftershocks. All right. Thank you so much for taking some time. How long have you been doing this research here for the GI and at the Earthquake Center?
This facility's been here. We've been.
Thank you, guys.
Actually, this is important. The efforts at the university to engage in seismology research and monitoring date back to the 1930s, but really jump-started after the 1964 earthquake, as this state as a whole, right, the most significant event in our history seismically, really stepped back and said, whoa, what are we going to do as a state to deal with this issue? And several federal agencies got involved, and the university at that time made commitments that, you know what, this is something we really need to take seriously.
Thank you so much for taking some time this morning. I know you've got important research to do. You've got data to process.
We do.
And I'm going to go get safe. If there's one thing I have in an earthquake kit, what would you recommend?
I think you've stumped me. Just one.
If the number one thing, should it be water, bandages, a hard hat?
Leah, Leah's saying water.
I like water.
There you go.
Thank you.
There it is.
Well, I mean,
I'll turn it over to you after that. Thank you so much.
Well, honestly, there were reports sometimes of wells and pipes and things being damaged in earthquakes. So I feel like having water supplies and fresh quality water that you can drink is one of the best things and it's the easiest thing to have on hand.
Sure, you can fill it up pretty quick. You can
Exactly.
have
Stash them in a
refreshing.
garage, and they're always on hand.
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time this morning.
All right.
Thanks for helping learn and let us learn a little bit more about these crazy things that happen in our planet.
Sounds good.
Do you feel more in touch with the Earth every day when you're walking on it?
Oh, we absolutely do. We feel privileged here to be aware of all the little pops and creeks that make this state what it is. So.
Thank you.
All right.